Welcome back to our van build series. I'm Mike and this is Sir Cedric, our 1988 Mercedes T1 Bremer, which we currently convert into a camper van. This time we want to build the panels for the doors, both for the sliding doors and for the doors in the back. And while the sliding doors get a conventional design, I had a cool idea for the doors in the back. What you can see here started life as a sack for coffee beans, and I haven't seen any other camper with a similar design idea, so I would herewith claim the copyright. Nevertheless, I will show you now exactly how we built these unique door panels so you can copy them if you like. Besides building the door panels, I will install the main wall panels in this video, and we finally glue the vinyl panels on the floor. Basically, that are old second-hand jute coffee bean sacks, which we found on eBay, and we really like these kind of colorful motifs. Best material for a door panel is 4mm poplar plywood. Compared to cardboard, it's more solid but still very lightweight. And it's easy to work with and cut with the jigsaw. If you're lucky, you can use existing door panels as templates. For the sliding doors, I could use the originals, but the back doors were bare metal only. After cutting with the jigsaw, we drill the holes for the bolts. Then paint the panels with Osmo Dekorwachs. While the paint dries, we install rivet nuts in the doors. This way you can use proper bolts to mount the panels later. That's much more solid than the original plastic mounting clips, which always break and look very tacky and flimsy. Then I cut the piece from the sack which I want to use, but a bit bigger than the final panel. The secret to install the jute sack on the panel is the correct adhesive, and I would recommend this one here. That's Würth Kraftsprühkleber Plus, and you can spray that on both materials and it creates a very strong bond. And the advantage is that this glue doesn't soak the material and it doesn't leave any ugly traces on the jute later. Just spray both the back of the sack and the front of the plywood panel and wait for 5 to 10 minutes before you put both materials together. Then I spray a bit of glue on the edges and wait again for 5 minutes before I can affix them as well. It immediately sticks very well, so the round edges are a bit tricky to work. Well, and I got the bill for not wearing gloves. With this stupidity I nearly cocked up and soaked the panel with blood. If you drilled the holes correctly, it's now very easy to attach the panel with the bolts to the door using the rivet nuts which I installed earlier. Nice bolts like these flathead versions are definitely much more classy than any plastic mounting clip. I absolutely love both of these door panels now, and as the doors in the vans open 270 degrees, I have a bit of a mobile open-air art gallery with me on my future adventures. And yeah, it's definitely more jolly than covering the door panels with felt. So what do you think? I would be curious to read your comments now. As mentioned earlier, the panels for the sliding doors just get white paint for the moment. Nobody can see them from outside anyway. And even from inside, major parts will be concealed by furniture when the van is finished. We used one coat of Osmo Dekorwachs in white color, then sanded the panels with 220 sandpaper and then applied another coat of Osmo Hard Wax in white color to make the finish more hard-wearing. For mounting the panels we used the same technique like for the back doors, that is bolts and rivet nuts. The wall panels are also 4mm poplar plywood, which are super lightweight compared to using fat slats with tongue and groove. In our case, it's very easy to mount the wall panel because at the top we can simply jam it between this wooden subframe and the Armorflex insulation. I could use bolts and an angle bracket, but it sits so well that it's not necessary. At the bottom we bolt it to this aluminium angle profile, which will primarily mount our beds, but forget the bed for the moment because that's already a story for a separate video. One detail is very important now. If you use a thin lightweight panel, you should not forget to reinforce the panel. If you don't do that, the panel will probably bow when you sit in your bed leaning against the wall. We first try only one slat at the height of one of the steel beams of the van, but one slat was not enough. That's our second attempt now with subframe. So first we added this one, it was not enough. Now we have this one additionally, and I'm quite sure that now the wall is completely stable. The result is hunky-dory, but I would recommend a different approach if you start from scratch. Better would be to glue these slats to the steel beams of the van with Sikaflex 552 before insulating the van with Armaflex. Then you can screw your wall panel into these super solid slats, but I didn't want to scratch off the insulation anymore. For finishing the panel, we have to fill the screw holes, sand it, and then apply the paint. As mentioned earlier, that's one coat of Osmo Dekorwachs and one coat of Osmo Hard Wax. Important is sanding with 220 sandpaper after the first coat. Originally I thought that's dispensable, but it seems that the oil of the first coat somehow erects some of the wood fibers, and those need sanding to get a smooth surface. With the white panels on the wall, the van looks considerably bigger now. That's one of the big advantages of white walls. In one of my last videos I already showed you the vinyl panels which I chose for the floor. They are from Gerflor and look super realistic like old wood panels. It will definitely look striking when the van is finished, but other than real wood it's just 2 mm thick and doesn't put much weight on the van. Cutting these vinyl panels is super easy. I slit the panel just slightly with the cutter knife, then you can bend and break it and get a very clean cut. That works even in round corners. The only difficult piece is exactly measuring all our holes. That becomes a time-consuming nightmare, but finally we drill all holes correctly.
Passt oder passt nicht?
Passt.
Passt, yeah.
Now it's time to glue them on the floor. There are lots of different adhesives on the market. I wanted to have a glue which allows panels to be removed again in case that I have to repair or change something later. That's why I chose Pufas PT41. Then you have to wait for 30 minutes until the glue dries a bit. In our case it takes nearly 2 hours before we think that the consistency looks right for laying the panels. And the darkness doesn't make things easier. But the result really looks stunning. With these vinyl panels it's very easy to get a clean finish even in the corners, and when you are on the road you can clean it and you don't have to worry about water. So I can definitely recommend this vinyl floor for a van conversion. It's from Gerflor, from the Creation 55 series, and the design is called Michigan, and if you want to check it out, link is of course below. In a second step we will also lay this floor in the living area in the front of the van, but we first want to build the structure of the furniture, that we know which of the anchor nut holes in the floor we really need. Last job for this video is trying to build my first little piece of furniture. I don't want to go into the details how I built it, because building all the furniture is surely enough content for 1 or 2 full videos. It was so satisfying to work with this jute material that we had to find another use case, and that's our shoe cabinet, which is nearly finished, and we want to glue that one, that's the back side of one of the sacks that we used for the door panel, on the top of the shoe cabinet, and that's what we do now. Same procedure like for the panels with Würth Kraftsprühkleber Plus, and after a few minutes the cover is finished. We install this cabinet right at the entrance of the van. Still missing are knobs or handles to open the doors, but we don't like knobs or handles, so we searched for alternatives. This black cover for the hole comes from the Everlock latch system, but in this cabinet I only install the cover, not the latch itself, because the cabinet is facing backwards, so it doesn't need a latch. More about the genius Everlock latch system in one of my next videos when I build the first big pieces of furniture. In our old camper, the Ford Transit Westphalia, we always had the problem where to store our shoes. So while camping, they were somewhere outside under the van, and while driving, somewhere in the aisle. And with this shoe cabinet, I think we have now a very nice and tidy, very convenient solution to store our shoes. And these soft close hinges are very nice, and this super cool black edged hole from Everlock to open the door, which is very unique compared to the usual knobs and handles. Enough for this video. Thanks for watching, and would be great if you leave a thumbs up, or even better, a comment, and maybe consider subscribing if you haven't done already, because we will soon start building the bed and I want to show you my ideas for the layout of the van, and we have definitely some nice ideas to maximize the space of this van. See you next time.